This is the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus prayed, I ask not only on behalf of these, but also on behalf of those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one. As you, Father, are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. The glory that you have given me, I have given them, so that they may be one as we are one. I in them and you in me, that they may become completely one, so that the world may know that you have sent me and have loved them, even as you have loved me. Father, I desire that those also whom you have given me may be with me where I am, to see my glory, which you have given me because you loved me before the foundation of the world. Righteous Father, the world does not know you, but I know you, and these know that you have sent me. I have made your name known to them, and I will make it known, so that the love with which you have loved me may be in them, and I in them. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
You may be seated. It was just about 10 years ago this summer that I graduated from Capital University in Columbus, Ohio, and prepared to enroll at Trinity Lutheran Seminary, this grad school program that would train me to be a pastor. 4 years through this program that would send me off on an internship and teach me about church history and how to preach and how to do all of the pastory stuff. I was not having any clue what I was getting myself into, but I can still remember those 4 years at seminary very fondly. I had a wonderful time. I had a wonderful relationship with all of my classmates. It was really a great place to be. But I do remember during those 4 years wondering a little bit about the curriculum and some of the choices that kind of were made by the structure of the program. For example, as a seminary student, we had to learn Greek, we had to learn Hebrew, we took at least 3 courses in church history, we took at least 2 courses apiece in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and lots of different theology classes, and all of that was really good. But it was interesting that when it came to preaching, or as they call it in seminary, homiletics, just means preaching. When it came to preaching, they only had 1 class that was required, 1 semester class, that's it. They didn't even offer like a preaching 2. It's just preaching. That's all you get. And so I remember being in that class my second year of seminary, and there's kind of this sense of pressure among all of us who are there, because we know that as we go out into our careers, this is going to be kind of a big part of our job. And we probably want to do this part pretty well, if we can help it at least. And so we're in this class, and I remember the very first day we go through all of the syllabus and the thing, and one of my classmates kind of raises their hands. And they just say to the professor, I just have this question. I want to know what makes a sermon a sermon. I know how to do a Bible study. I know how to do a devotion. I know how to do a lecture. But what makes a sermon different from all of those other things? And I'll confess to you, this is really the only thing I remember about my preaching class was the answer to this question. But the answer that the professor gave was really good, and so I hung on to that as best I could. The answer the professor gave was said that what a sermon does is it takes 2 things, the law and the gospel. And the law is kind of the world, the way that God wants it to be. It has all the rules that come down, everything from, you shouldn't kill, to you should take care of the earth, to you should welcome all people, you should love your neighbor as yourselves. That's all the law. All of those things there are good, and people kind of understand what the law is, whether it's a law from God or a law in the world, like you're not supposed to go beyond 55 miles an hour on this highway. We understand the law. But then there's the gospel. And the gospel happens whenever the law is broken and God intervenes instead. So I'll give you an example. If you have something as simple as litter on the street, God has given us all this command to care for our world, the world God made. We're not supposed to litter. And yet, anytime there's a law in the Bible, almost immediately it gets broken. So we break in all of these laws. This law is broken. There's litter and trash on the street. And the gospel is somebody who comes by, who notices the litter and picks it up. It's God working through a person to give all of us a second chance, another chance at grace, another chance to keep that law. And so, as the professor goes on explaining, he says, in reality, if you look at it this way, this is basically three parts. There's the law getting broken, and God intervening and giving us a second chance. And if you look for those things, you'll find that sermons happen everywhere. They're happening all the time. In fact, the professor went on to say that if, when you get out and you're a pastor on your own, if the only time your congregation hears a sermon is when you stand up on Sunday morning and talk for 10 or 15 minutes, you're failing as a pastor. In fact, our job as preachers is not simply to give sermons, but it's to teach the people who find themselves in our congregation how to see all of the sermons God is giving each and every day. Our job, if we do it right, is to change the way people see the world so that they see all of those places where God is at work. I think if we look around, we can see examples of these little sermons happening, everything from as simple as someone picking up trash just out of nowhere to something as profound as family members who have been estranged for decades coming back together and forgiving one another and learning to live together again. Again and again and again, God is telling us these sermons. God is at work in the world, correcting all of those things that we break each and every day. We can even look, this last week there was a shooting in Virginia Beach, and we have this law, this commandment, thou shalt not kill, that is broken each and every day in our society. And yet, in the midst of that brokenness, there are people who rush in, who care about the lives of these people more than their own lives, who rush in to help and to provide first response and care. And at the same time, there are others who are working tirelessly to change laws and ordinances so that things like this might not happen again in the future. Law and gospel. In our first reading today, we have a story from Paul and Silas. And Paul spends a lot of time in the Bible preaching and giving sermons. About half of the New Testament is just Paul preaching to us. But I think Paul's best sermon happens in this story and this New Testament reading. This story where he and his friend Silas are imprisoned. They're in prison there with a bunch of other folks, and there's a guard. And the law says that this guard has to keep all of his prisoners in check. And if the guard doesn't do that, he should be prepared to die. That's the law. That's the part that people all understood. Everyone knew how that system worked. And yet when this act of God breaks these prisoners out of their chains, opens all of the doors, the guard is ready to kill himself, ready to see that, yes, I've broken the law, here's my punishment. And that's when Paul gives his best sermon. It's only 4 words long. We are still here. 4 simple words said to this guard everything that needed to be said. It said that we are still here. We value your life over our own freedom. That God is here for you too, even if what you're doing is unjust. 4 simple words. We get one of the best sermons in all of the New Testament. This is what each of us is called to do. We have another sermon with us today. It's actually in your bulletin. It's printed on page 9. It's our mission and our values statement. And in it, we say that we are called to be the heart, the hands, the feet, and the voice of Jesus in the world. That is who we are called to be as followers of Jesus. That is who we are called to be as Grace Lutheran Church. And I can promise you that each and every day we all fail. We all have moments where we can't uphold that law that has been set for us, where we can't live up to that goal that God has for us. And yet, even though we fail, we come back to Grace Lutheran Church, to this place of second and third and fourth and fifth chances, this place where God comes into our lives and says, yeah, we haven't made it yet, we haven't gotten it all right, and yet God picks us back up and gives us another chance to try again. There in our values statement on page 9, it talks about welcoming. It talks about welcoming people who look different from us, who might speak another language or come from another part of town or another part of the world or have a different skin color or have a different gender identity or have a different sexual orientation. And I can promise you, this church, like almost every other one, has failed at welcoming some people in that group at some point in their history. There have been people who have walked through these front doors of Grace Lutheran Church and have been ignored. And there have been people who have walked through these front doors at Grace Lutheran Church and in one way or another been quietly asked to maybe find another place to worship. And that hurts. That's hard. Time and time again, we do fail at living up to our values. And yet, the amazing thing about this place, is that time and time again, God comes and works through us and gives us another chance. A second and a third and a fourth and a fifth and a however many number we need chance to welcome the stranger among us. To care for the people that, if we're really honest with ourselves, we would rather they go somewhere else. To care for the people who find themselves in this place, in our neighborhood, in our midst. And every once in a while, we get our job right. Every once in a while, we live up to those values that we say we embody, and we become, if only for a moment, that heart, those hands, those feet, that voice of Jesus in the world. And those moments change people's lives. Those moments change people's hearts. Those moments bring people together that would never even talk or look at one another from across a train car. Those moments are what it means to be God's people in the world. Those moments are what it means to be grace in the world. As we all sit here, we're each called to go back out from this place into our lives, into our families, into our workplaces. And we're called to look around and to see the world differently. To see those little moments of law and gospel being played out in our own lives and in the world. To see those moments where God intervenes, where God is at work in us and in the people we never expected. We're called to go out from this place and to preach, to give our own sermons. That's the call I'm giving each of you today. I'm sending you out, each as preachers in your own lives, to share that story of law and gospel wherever you may find it. Go out this week to preach. Use words if necessary. Amen.